Well, it's good to speak to you again. Today I'd like to talk about the subject of ethical printing. That sounds like a weird subject, and maybe you can think of a better title. But when I say ethical printing, what do I mean? And why is it important to know about it? This is something which is important because let's imagine you are printing a book by the thousands or the hundreds of thousands or the millions of copies. And let's imagine this is starting to get publicity. Or let's imagine I want to paint this hypothetical or maybe literal scenario which will be coming in the future. So let's imagine you've been asked to go on to Sky News, GB News, whatever TV station, to talk about why you're giving out the Great Controversy. Why you're giving this out. Obviously we know the reason why we're giving it out. Obviously we know the need to give it out. But there's some accusations which will come our way. So putting aside the discussion of the contents of the book, I just want to look at some practicalities of the book. Doesn't necessarily need to mean about the Advent Books Great Controversy, but know the book you are using. Let me ask a question. The first thing someone may come to you and say, you're giving this book out by the millions. What about the environment? Do you know if your book is printed on recycled paper? That's the first thing people are going to say. Maybe you're cutting trees down. But know your facts. Is it printed on recycled paper is your first question. The second thing is, if it's not, is it printed on paper which comes from a sustainable source with correct forest management? The carbon dioxide impact is very low. The next thing is, know your supplier. For example, did you know that Advent Books, where our main storage area is on a site which has maybe 100, 200 trees? That'd be a great fact to tell someone. Maybe where you live, you could plant another 10 trees. It's all good to be able to tell somebody from the PR point of view of why we're doing this work. The next thing. Let's imagine you're here in the United Kingdom. This is a very important one. Someone may not like the contents of the book, but if this book is printed here in the United Kingdom, at the moment it's not. We're switching some of our suppliers to the UK. Our aim is to switch all our suppliers to the UK. But imagine this. You've just given out 100,000 books, which were printed in the UK. You've created jobs. You've created wealth for the economy. Another thing to think about when we're talking about the work and if we get drawn in front of maybe a news reporter, a chat show, or whatever it may be. So they're the two main things from a public point of view under the subject of ethical printing. The next thing, and this is hard in the United Kingdom, is are we printing our books using Seventh-day Adventist printers? We would love, and there isn't at the moment, we would love to have a Seventh-day Adventist printing press here in the United Kingdom. There used to be one owned by Stanborough Press, but sadly at the moment it is not there. But wouldn't that be good? We would love to be able to print our books by Adventist printers here in the United Kingdom at a competitive price, which I'm sure can be done. I'm not saying that here at Advent Books we do everything right. These are our aims and aspirations. But this should be the aims and aspirations for all of us. To be able to print on recycled paper. To be able to print in the United Kingdom to support the United Kingdom economy for the people which we're giving the books to. and printed by Seventh-day Adventist printers. Wouldn't it be good to have a printing house here in the United Kingdom also? When we look at the subject of ethical printing, this is my desire that we can follow these steps, and maybe in a few weeks or months or however long it takes, we can say yes, yes, yes to every one of these points. But I just wanted to share some thoughts on ethical printing. This is part of a practical series on printing, and I'm using an example of the Great Controversy book, but this applies to any book you might be printing out there. Have any questions? Please do send an email. I'd love to learn from everyone and be able to answer whatever questions I can. May God richly bless you today.